I wasn't making fun of your typing, although it was pretty funny. I did see the comment. All right, let me go through this real quickly so that you can, so I can get your feedback on it, because I think this is important. I think this is something that we can share with both of our audiences, and it will be helpful. Usually things that are done before Labor Day, just in this part of the country, are pathetic. So let's do this. My question is, are you building a business or just buying software? And there is an attraction to buying software. So because of that, I created what I'm calling the Society of Recovering Software Junkies, because it's very addicting to buy software, and buying software is worse than waiting for Christmas to happen. Only you can make it happen about twice a week because there's a new product being launched all the time. So let's talk about the Society of Recovering Software Junkies. This is what you're going to learn in this webinar. The first thing is you're going to learn why product creators of all kinds are clueless. And understand this. I've been in this kind of, not the online business, but I've been in business for over 30 years, and I've discovered that product creators, no matter who they are clueless. They come up with great ideas, they come up with great product, but they don't know how to position it, they don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to test it out. They don't know how the market's going to react. They don't know what to do when the market reacts a particular way. I started in industrial sales, and I discovered that was a huge problem in industrial sales. Somebody would make a great product, and it had great features, but they didn't know what to do with it. And then I moved to insurance, and insurance was worse. I mean, they would come up with a great product, and really what they were doing is they were playing off the competition more than figuring out what the market really needed. And so, just understand this, that you're going to hear me say that a lot. Product creators tend to be clueless. The second thing that I want you to see is that selling an internet marketing product, we're going to get to that one in just a second, Cynthia. Selling an internet marketing product to marketers is very different than selling it to business owners. Business owners view things very different than internet marketers do. So keep that in mind as we go, because if you're trying to build a business and you're not marketing to internet marketers, you're going to have a problem, because you're learning how to market from internet marketers, and that can create an issue. Or you're competing with them, and that's even worse, okay? The third thing that you'll learn is that perfection is your biggest enemy. And actually, that's what marketers are trained to play on. They're trained to play on that you don't have exactly what you need because it didn't have this gizmo. And when we added this gizmo, it made it easy for everybody to do what they needed to do. And if you just had this, and that's the reason why you have a hard drive full of software that you don't use, is because perfection becomes the biggest enemy. Number 4, why selling something before you buy it is the very best test. If you can sell it, if you can go to a business owner that has the local ice cream shop, or if you can go to the local restaurant, or if you can go to the used car dealership and you can sell them something before you buy it, then that's a great test for determining whether you actually need to be able to sell this and market it to other business owners. Number 5, you're going to learn that skills are far more important than tools. The skills that you have and that you develop are far more important than the tools that you have. You can have the finest car in the world, but if you don't know how to drive, it doesn't do you any good. It just sits in the driveway and does nothing. Kind of like some of that software sits on people's hard drives. So those 5 things are really important, and they're going to formulate the thinking as we go through this webinar tonight. Okay, let me check to make sure we have anybody else here. Still just us. So here we go. Why is this so important? Well, here's the first one. Online business is the wave of the future, but it's still business. And we forget that it's still business. It just happens to be online. And more business is going to occupy that online space, but it's still business. The people who understand how to run business are going to be the ones who are going to be successful. Many people are going to enter this field with little or no business experience, and they'll fall victim to the marketers who prey on that lack of experience. And what you really need to do is be set free from the clutches of those marketers, because they know how to play on your lack of experience, your lack of business savvy, your lack of business understanding. The problem is this: you've been trained that the answer to your online success just arrived in your inbox. It just got launched today. It just got pitched to you in a webinar, just got pitched to you in a live feed or whatever else is going on. That just happened, and that's going to be your answer, because this widget, this product, this thing, whatever it is slightly improved from the last 6 that were released to the market over the last 10 months. And that's the reason why you haven't made it yet. And you immediately start acting like a kid on Christmas morning. The insight I'm going to give you is going to set you free from that, I promise. This is what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a way to set yourself free from the magical lure of the next product launch by working with me. I've been doing this for a long time. I have been training people on how to use the software that they've purchased for a long time. I've been pitching product online for a long time, and I got fed up with it because I was watching what was happening, and I saw people buying product after product after product, and I looked at what they were doing, and I'm a member of all of those groups because I pitched all those products, and you'll see my face and my video on lots of sales pages. And I saw people buying 3 page builders and 2 webinar platforms and 4 autoresponders and never doing anything. And I got frustrated with it. And I went on a little rant. And the problem is that we have this addiction to buying software. And so it's difficult for people to want to break free from that. I did a survey not too long ago, and in that survey, every single person who filled out the survey form, every one of them, 100%, said that they bought things that they never used, they never opened, they never figured out how to use, and somebody else cashed your check. And that's not how a business owner operates. A business owner can't do that. And you can't do it and operate a business either. So I'm going to give you 6 secrets to success. These are magical secrets to success. And I promised that for this webinar. I'm going to give it to you right now. The first one is you have to have something to sell. I know that seems ridiculously simple, but you have to have something to sell. An online business has to sell something. It has to provide a service. It has to provide some product, some benefit. It has to be something that somebody's going to pay for. So you have to have something to sell. In one of the groups that I was in, the manager of that group, the creator of that product, wanted everybody to get a URL, and he was going to give them a free website. And I bet in the span of 5 or 6 days, I had 25 people who said, "What URL should I pick?" And so I finally created a boilerplate response. And I had some questions on that boilerplate response. And the first one was, what do you plan to sell? More than half of the people who responded back to me said they didn't know. They didn't know what they were going to sell. So in other words, they don't have anything to sell. You can't have an online business if you don't have something to sell. I know that seems ridiculously simple, but you have to have something to sell. It doesn't do you any good. You either have to have a product or service that you can sell. And if you don't have one or the other, then you don't have any, you don't have a business. You still have to formulate that dream in the form of some type of a product, some type of a service, something that's tangible. Otherwise, you don't have anything to sell. That's the first one. Second one is you have to have some place to sell it. Seems ridiculously simple, but you have to have some place to sell it. If I have an ice cream shop, then I have a place where I make ice cream and people come and buy it. That's some place to sell it. Now, in the online platform, we have to have some place to sell that. We've got to have a landing page. We have to have a website. We don't have to have all of those things, but we have to have some place that we can direct people to where they can go there and they can purchase that something that you have to sell, that number one. So you have to have some place to sell it. The people who have 7 page builders and have never built a page are in trouble. You've spent more money. Somebody's made a lot of money off of you, but you haven't made any money off the things that you bought. So you have to have some place to sell it, and you have to learn how to use that, and you have to master the use of it. Otherwise, you don't have a place to sell. Number 3, you have to have some way to talk about it. You just simply have to have some way to talk about it. If you don't have a way to talk about your product, then you don't have a business. That's the reason why I say you should sell the product before you ever buy it. That way you've gotten in the habit of talking about it. you find it fairly easy, and you realize that somebody will actually exchange dollars for that product or that good or that service or whatever it is. You have to have some way to talk about it. You're going to promote it in some form or fashion. You're going to do it with a LinkedIn or with a Facebook live feed, or you're going to do it with a LinkedIn story, or you're going to do something. Mark says, boy, you asking a lot here. You buy the product and push the button and money comes in. That seems like the way most of these things get pitched. But listen, Mark, you jumped in on the back end of this. So get caught up here with us. These are the 6 things that you have to do in order to be successful online. And the amazing thing is a lot of people haven't even done these. Okay. And I'm not just saying that you have to push the button and money comes in. That's not exactly how it works. What I'm saying is that you have to have a place where they can push a button. If there's not a place to push the button, if they can't tell you yes, and if you haven't made it easy for them to tell you yes, then you still don't have a business. You're still not in business. So you have to have something to sell. You have to have some place to sell it. You have to have some way to talk about it. Number 4, you have to have some way to remind people about it. That's where your autoresponder comes in, or something of that nature comes in. Maybe it's a Facebook group where you have repeated comments in that in that Facebook group, or a membership site, or someplace, some way to remind people about what you're doing. Because if they're not reminded about it, then they don't know that it's happening. You've got to remind people because they get busy with their life. Life happens to them and they move on. And so you have to have a system in place. You have to have a system that is in place. So you have a systematic way to remind people. Number 5, you have to have something that attracts people to it. People are attracted to visuals. You have to have a way to create visuals that attract people to your product, or your goods, or your services, or whatever it is that you're doing. That's something that you have to sell. You need to be able to visually demonstrate that something that you're selling, and something that's attractive to people. Something the days of simply writing a paragraph in a direct mailing campaign, those as effective as I think that can be in some circumstances, just simply writing a paragraph isn't going to work anymore. You're going to have a visual demonstration of the product. And that brings me to the last one. You have to have a way to demonstrate it, which means you may have to make video. You might have to do a screen capture. You might have to do a webinar like we're doing right here. You have to have some way to be able to demonstrate what you're going to do to the other person. Those 6 things are essential. Without those 6 things, you don't have a business. Those are going to be true in every single business situation. You know, you have to have something to sell. I'm going to sell ice cream. You have to have a place to sell it. Well, maybe I have to have an ice cream shop. I can't sell ice cream online. I still have to have a way to deliver it. I got to get it to people's houses. I have to have a place to store it and to ship it and all of those kinds of things. I have to have a way to talk about it. If nobody knows that I have ice cream, then there's nothing. I can't sell them ice cream. I have to have a way to remind them about it because I'll forget. Because as the consumer, I'll forget that. Number 5, I have to have a way to attract people to it. It has to look visually appealing. And then I have to have a way to demonstrate that. Those are the 6 secrets to success. Without those 6 things, all of your online efforts will fail. Because most of the time, we're just buying the next product. And I don't care how simple the pitch man makes the product sound. If you don't have those 6 things, you still don't have anything. And the frustration that I have is that I've heard all of the pitches. I've been guilty of making many of them. And I've walked through these processes and I see the stuff that people are expecting something magical. And I appreciate Mark's comment, the push button and money comes in, because it just doesn't happen that way. But that's the way it gets pitched. And you're right. That is how it's pitched, Mark. That's the way it gets pitched. And it frequently gets pitched that way. All right. Who else do we have on? If you're on, please announce yourself so I'll know that you're here, because I've been talking rather rapidly because I had a short audience to begin with and we blew through a lot of stuff. So if anybody has a question or if you need me to go slower, I can do that. But I would like to know if you are on. Because this is a huge deal for me. I've got to tell you, this is This is a career startling moment. Okay, when I admit some of these things, because the person who buys this software product, if they don't have something to sell, they still don't have a business. And you got to sell something. You have to have a place to sell it. You have to have a way to talk about it. You have to have a way to remind people about it. You have to have something that attracts people to it. And you have to have a way to demonstrate it. Now, that's Cynthia. Number 7 is not a payment processor, because that is a place to sell it. Has to be a place to sell it. And there's lots of ways to do that. There's lots of ways to accomplish that. I'm not saying that any one is better than the rest of them. And by the way, I am amazed at how many businesses are fully functional and do very, very well that don't have amazing payment processors. They don't. So there's lots of ways to accomplish that. These are the secrets to online success. But what you have to understand is that marketer, that pitch man, that person who's promoting this product to you is trying to convince you that what you currently have is deficient. And it needs to have this new whiz-bang gizmo that has just come out. And the fact is, you don't need that. If you're not currently selling something, had this happened when the and I'll mention the product because I love it, and I'm I really love the product, and I've used it a lot. I'm a big fan of the founder of it, so I'm gonna throw this one out there. I had a dozen people ask me, should I buy Lively? My first question was, are you doing live videos now? Because if you're not going to do live videos, if you're not doing live videos, then a live video syndication platform isn't going to do you any good. I mean, what do you plan to do with it? I talked to a guy the other day who had 3 webinar platforms, and I said, when was the last time you did a webinar? I've never done one. Then why do you have 3 platforms? I mean, no business owner would go buy 3 trucks if he didn't need 3 delivery trucks. Why would you do that? And so that's really important, that you make intelligent business decisions. The next thing I want you to see is, this is where we're at. Are you ready to turn off the noise and focus on your business? Because if you're ready to turn off the noise and focus on your business, I'm going to give you an opportunity to work with me. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to do 3 things. Number 1, you're going to discover what you need. You figure out what you need. Take a look at what you currently have so that you can figure out what you need. Because it may be that you already have it. I know somebody who has Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, and Convertri. That's ridiculous. You now have three platforms that are costing you over $200 a month, and you don't have a single sales page. It makes no sense whatsoever. Let's discover what you need so that you can sell something, so that you can remind people of it, so that you can build a list, so that you can do the things that are necessary. We're going to get to scarcity in just a minute, Mark. So just wait. You're going to love this. Yeah, you say you're going to get it cheap and then you're going to use it later. And news for you. If you're not using it now, you're not going to use it later either. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but probably not going to use it later either, unless you've already specifically sold it and you have a deadline on it. Okay. Number 2, you're going to learn to use what you have. If you've got 3 webinar platforms and you don't do webinars because you don't know how to use them, let's pick one and figure out how to use it. Been teaching people how to do that for 3 years now. So let's learn how to use what we've got, because most people have got a hard drive full of stuff. Cynthia said it earlier, got a hard drive full of stuff that they don't use. So the whole purpose here is to figure out, can we use what we have? Number 3, then we'll fill in the blanks. Because interestingly enough, I know people who have live feed broadcasting software and they spent a lot of money on it and don't have a sales page. You need a sales page more than you need broadcasting software if you're not doing live feeds. I mean, let's be reasonable about this. Let's figure out what you need and let's fill in the blanks. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. So let me ask you this. What if you never had to get lost in the OTO, upsell, downsell hell again? What if we could make that go away? What if you didn't have to spend time evaluating the worthless bonuses that everybody wants to give? Here's the thing that fascinates me, and I started seeing this as a recurring theme as I was being asked to pitch various products. The thing that I sold for $297 6 months ago, they're now giving away as a bonus on a $47 product. That told me everything I needed to know. That's why, Mark, the hard drives keep getting bigger, is because, what I sold to you 6 months ago for $297 because it was the latest, greatest, best thing on the planet, now gets included as a bonus? My goodness, what have we done? And we have tons of worthless bonuses that fill up people's hard drives. What if you never had to do that again? Number 3, what if you never had to again panic because you were up against the scarcity pitch? There's your comment, Mark. What if you never had to worry about that scarcity pitch? Oh, if you don't buy it today, the price will double. Wish I could tell you how many times I've heard that. I've heard it way more than everybody on this webinar. I promise. I've said it myself too many times, only to discover that the price never did go up, or that you could find it on a backdoor JVZoo. Or you could connect with a buddy who happened to have a white label version of it, or it got included in a bonus 2 months later. What if all that went away? What if you never had to again panic because you're up against the scarcity pitch? One more. What if you had access to everything that you needed with a plan to execute for your success? So I think Mark's already answered my question once. What would that be worth to you? Would that be worth something to you? Because that's what I'm offering. That's what I'm asking you to consider tonight. I'm not going to give you a scarcity pitch, but I am going to ask you to consider that, because I figured out a way to take those 4 things away. I've figured out a way so you don't have to worry about the OTOs, the upsells, downsells, all that stuff. How many times have you gone into a funnel and only to get pitched like 9 times? You have an upsell, a downsell, OTO 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can add this little widget, and we can add that gizmo. You get lost. I got news for you. You do that to a business owner, and he will kick you out by the seat of your pants in a heartbeat. That's not how you do business. But we figured out how to do that in the internet marketing space, and we all ended up falling victim of it. And I'm saying that it's time that stop. The next thing, regardless. Yeah, only 9 left. Those are the kind of things. Cynthia, did you lose the video or the audio? Anybody else having an audio issue? Okay, good. All right. Whether you work with me or not, I'm going to give you 5 things that I want you to do. I want you to do these 5 things no matter what. Number 1, I want you to calculate what you've spent over the last 3 years. This is a business owner move. I'm going to sit down and calculate what I've spent over the last 3 years. Because I think it's important to know that. Because we'll look at it and we'll go, well, it's only $27. I'll get that. I may never use it, but at least I'll have it. Or, that's $297, but it's going to go up to $97 a month if I don't buy it right now. Wow. We've all heard that pitch before. And calculate what you've spent over the last 3 years. I used to do this with the people in my church. They'd be in financial trouble, and I say, "This is what I want you to do. You got $10,000 on your credit card. I want you to get all that stuff that you bought for that $10,000, and we're going to pile up in the middle of the room." And they couldn't do it. And the reason is because they were spending money they didn't have on stuff that they ate, that disappeared, that didn't have value, that went away, that was packaging, that's stuff that had no value. And the same thing happens because look at what you do, number 2. Think about how many of those products you never mastered. If you never used that, then it was simply money that was wasted. And it was really wasted. Third thing that I want you to do is to check to see how many of those products are still functional. I did this about 6 months ago. I went through JVZoo and I clicked on every single product that I'd ever bought, went to their sales page. More than 70% of them are no longer functional. Just not even functional. They don't happen anymore. Cynthia says if I go past 1 year, it's sinful for me. Yeah, because what's happened in the last year, Cynthia, how many times have I told you, no, don't buy that? Right? Calculate what you spent over the last 3 years. Think about how many of those products you never mastered. Number 3, check to see how many of those products are still functional. Number 4, consider this. Based upon what you know, would you hire you? Would you hire you? Because people hire skills. They don't hire products. They hire skills. Skill is what separates you from everybody else. So you have to ask yourself this question. Based upon what I know, would somebody hire me to do whatever you fill in that blank with? I'm glad for you, Mark. I think we're finally starting to. This message is starting to resonate with some people. We got to stop this. Number 5, treat your business like a business and master skills that someone would pay you for. Master the skills. Every Friday, I do a training webinar for Usign. Not a big secret. Everybody knows that. And I'm actually quite proud of that. But I constantly tell people on that webinar, master the skills. Don't keep expecting the product to do everything for you because it won't. It can't. It's not even possible. You have to have skills. You bring skills to the product. That's what you do. And so when you consider based upon what you know, would you hire you to do this? And then master your skills. Get really good at what you do because that's what people will pay you for. Something to sell isn't necessarily a product. Sometimes it's a skill. And that skill is extremely valuable. Here are 3 things that you should never do. Okay? Just 3 things these 5 things I want you to remember to do. And I want you to do them soon because I'm going to ask you to make a decision in a minute and you're going to have some things to base that on. And I don't want you to make the decision tonight, but you got to have some things to base that on. And these 5 things will help you to have something to base that on. Now, these 3 things I don't want you to do. And you should never do these because no right thinking business owner ever does this. Don't ever purchase a product till you've sold it to someone first. Don't buy a product until you've sold it to somebody first. Just don't do that. Because if you can't sell it, you shouldn't buy it. If you can't sell the service of that, you shouldn't buy it. You should not buy something until you've been effective at selling it first. Number 2, don't get fooled into thinking that a product is better than an expert. Don't get fooled into thinking that a product is better than an expert. You can have the greatest, whatever it is, I don't care what it is. You can have the greatest, and we'll just rattle off of it. You can have the greatest posting software. But if you don't have an audience to post it to and something worth posting, it doesn't matter. You can have the best, all the bells and whistles of a live feed syndication software, whether it's BeLive or LiveLeap or Ecamm or any of those. But if you don't have a quality live feed to share with the world, they're not going to be impressed with your intro, your outro, your uptro, your downtro. They're going to be impressed with that. Don't get fooled into thinking that a product is better than an expert. And the last thing, the last don't, is don't just master a product, master the skills. Don't just master a product, master the skills. What are people going to pay you for? They're going to pay you for fixing their problem. Whatever you do, whether you work with me or not, doesn't really matter. But I want you to calculate the cost of doing what you're doing right now. And then you got to change these 3 behaviors. Don't ever purchase a product till you've sold it to somebody first. Don't get fooled into thinking that a product is better than an expert. And don't just master the product. Master the skills. Because when you've mastered the skills, products come and go. Platforms change. Facebook may make, I can't tell you how many Facebook products that I have that are no longer valuable because they're no longer functional. I bought the first Facebook makeup language software so that I could write script for Facebook. Within a week, Facebook had abandoned that Facebook markup language. Without the skills, you had nothing. Zero, nothing, because they changed. Spent a lot of money for that. And that was the beginning of me thinking, hey, wait a minute. You're starting to try to do something that you got to be really, really careful about. Develop the skills and not just the product. Now, listen, I'm involved in some pretty big time product development. And I said earlier that product developers are clueless. The reason why I'm involved in it, not because I know how to build the product, but because I know how to sell it. I know the markets for it. I know the where it belongs. I know how to position it. I know how to pitch it. I know what needs to be done with it. Those are my skills. I'm just trying to get the developers to understand the reason for the things that they need to put in the product. Okay? Master the skills, because the skills are what makes all the difference in the world. So when you work with me, this is what you get. Make this really simple. You get to turn off the noise. Greatest thing that will ever happen to you is shutting off the noise. I have people say, I want you to help me with this. I want you to do this. And then the next thing I see is that they're in some group and they're sitting like a puppy dog, waiting for the crumbs to fall off the table. And I'm going, you're never going to get where you want to go, ever, because you're chasing the noise. If you work with me, you get to turn off the noise. And the reason why I say that is because there's probably 6 or 8 times a week. It's happened to me 4 times, and this is Tuesday. It's happened to me 4 times this week. People will say, should I buy this? And I have a standard list of questions that I ask them anymore. I just cut and paste it. But mostly I tell them, shut off the noise. Quit thinking that the answer to your online millions that are just waiting for you to take those in is not in your inbox. It's in your skill set. And stop listening to the noise and get really good at the skill set. Let's perfect that, because I got a long list of products that no longer work. If I didn't have some skill to go with them, I would be in trouble. Number 2, you discover what you're best equipped to offer online. This is where people fail. I have to have something to offer. Remember, something to sell? I have to have something to offer. I have to have something for which somebody else will pay me. Remember your question? Knowing what I know now, would I pay me to do whatever the to-do is? And I need to know what the answer to that is. But you'll discover what you're best equipped to offer online. And I'm telling you, if people had paid attention to me earlier, they would have saved themselves a world of hurt. I've seen so many people that have had to go back and refund product because they were so convinced that they were going to be able to make this gigantic leap from here to there if they just had this product. Well, if you don't have any skills, you don't have the product isn't going to make you better. Number 3, you'll learn to use what you have. You've all heard me say this over and over again. Sell what you got. Not always the best English, but it is really a great philosophy. Learn to use what you have. Sell what you've got. Don't expect that next thing to be the problem-solving solution that you've been waiting for, and that's going to instantly, as Mark says, put money in your PayPal account. Learn to use what you have. My daddy used to say, stop buying tools and start developing skills, because it's skills that people will pay you for. Number 4, you'll be free to build a business, not to watch for the next launch. And we've all seen that whole launch thing. We've seen people that have thrown out this when version 2 comes out, or when version 3.9 comes out, or when this comes out, or when that comes out, then you'll have what you need. Then we're going to turn the world upside down. Then you're going to have this. Just sell what you got. Don't sit around waiting for the next launch to take place. Instead, build a business. Stop buying software. Start building a business. And then finally, you'll have access to all the tools that you need to do what you want. I have a white label version of everything that anybody needs to be online. You work with me, I make the tools available to you. Okay? But it doesn't do any good to give you the tools if you don't have the skills, if you don't have the noise shut off, if you're not knowing what you're best equipped to be able to do. The tools won't do you any good. That's the reason why they're last on the list. I have a list right here in my hand. I'm not going to show it to you, but I have a list right here in my hand, 27 things that you could have access to, as long as they were in alignment with what you wanted, with what you are equipped to do. You won't lack for anything. I know most of these guys, and I have the things that I need. But I did it in such a fashion that I could do what I'm offering to do right now, and that is help you to shut off the noise. I've been a coach for years. This is what I do best, is help people to discover what they're equipped to offer. That's what I do best. I've been training people to use what they have for a long, long time. And those first 3 things will really help you to be free to build a business and not watch for the next launch. And then we can make the tools available to you. Then you have access to the tools that you need. So this is what I want you to do. There's the website. There is the offer. There is the place where you'll find the offer that I'm making to you. But I have been answering people's questions for a long, long time. Should I buy this? Should I get that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Those who've listened are moving forward. Those who have not are still struggling. But I'm not doing that anymore. It's time for Eric to offer to the world what I can do to help. And you see what it is right here? I can help you turn off the noise. I'll tell you, as soon as I walked away from the noise, the great things began to happen in my life. You'll discover that once you figure out what you're best equipped to do, life becomes a lot of fun. When you learn how to use what you have instead of longing for something that you don't have, contentment's a wonderful thing. It really is. And once you learn how to be content, it's amazing what happens to you. Because then you're free to build the business that you want and not be watching for the next launch. And then the tools become helpful in the hands of a skilled person. Okay? That's it. EricSaid.com and SORSJ for Society of Recovering Software Junkies. Thank you so much for coming on to the webinar tonight. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. Hopefully you'll seriously consider the offer that I'm making here. Go to the sales page, check that out. There's a little video there. I go on a little bit of a rant in that video You're not going to get a hard pitch. I don't do hard pitches. I used to get paid for doing hard pitches. I'm not going to do hard pitches. I'm just going to tell you this is what I can do for you. If that's what you want. No scarcity. There's no clock on this. But if you sit down and calculate what you've spent, it will be, what I'm asking for will be nothing in comparison to it, I promise. I promise you. That's the way it'll be. Okay, any comments before I go? Mark, thank you for coming in. Cynthia, thank you. Let's see, who else was on? I had 2 other people on, so, but if you have any comments to make before we go, good for you, Mark. Good for you. Just had to cut it out. By the way, I want to tell you, Mark, I've watched you do some of that, and I've watched you challenge some people's thinking, and I've kind of been proud of you, to tell you the truth. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time this evening to do this with me. I got off to kind of a fast start. I did that on purpose. This is 1 hour long, and we're done with 15 minutes left to go, which is kind of what I expected it to be, because I told Cynthia we didn't have a bigger crowd. I was going to do the 15-minute version of this. And but again, I'm telling you, this is not the best career move I've ever made, but I feel an obligation to people to do something to help them. And this is what I'm going to do. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time tonight. And with that, we are done.